Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I got Will Shurtleff in the building today, 2024 Male Masters Champion. Let's go, baby. I'm so excited to dive in with Will. Before I let him make his opening comments on just how the experience of athlete games in general and winning the championship has impacted him in his life, I got to do this guy justice. He's a longtime Burn Bootcamp expert trainer at Madison, Mississippi. And listen, Will joined Madison back in February 2019, I believe it was, and his wife had been a member since 17. He got a CPT and started training there in March of 2021, and has just been pedal to the metal since day one. They have two children, Leighton and Lanny, 15 and 12. He was at Athlete Games 2021, 2022, and champ, not only 2024, but also 2023, back-to-back Male Masters division. Favorite protocol, full body strength. Favorite protocol to take is the Metcon. We share that. I'm Acon, so it's one slight deviation away. And you know, Will is a recovery addict as well on Burn On Demand. His favorite product we have are Afterburn bars, and favorite exercises, burpees. We saw you put on a show, Will, at the 2021, 2, 3, and 4 Athlete Games, and how does it feel to be the champion?
Good. Devin, it feels great. I appreciate the opportunity to come out here and talk to y'all for a little bit. Hey, Burn Nation. It's a little surreal, still a little bit. Last year and this year, two different, obviously, games, and they both had their ups and downs, but they were both completely different. But I think I even said this when they interviewed me after we won. I'm going to savor this one a little more. The competition was fierce this year. It really was. There are some amazing athletes in the Masters division, and obviously all over Burn Nation, but especially when you boil it down to the Athlete Games finalists. But the Final Four for the Masters, myself and just three other amazing guys. I couldn't have asked for a better ending, I guess, to this year's games. You know, I wasn't winning in that final, and I kind of came back a little bit at the end. And so, you got to leave everything on the table. So that's what I tried to do.
All right, so let's remind everybody what the final event was. It was called Sorry for the Wait. It was a surprise event. Nobody knew what was coming, so that was a new kind of trick we threw. A curveball, here it comes. And okay, so let's go over it. So it was 2 rounds of tricep press with 10 reps, and then push-ups. Those were 60s.
Correct.
For you guys. Mm-hmm. And then it was 50 double unders to buy in. You could break those, but you had to get 50. And then you had to do 10 reps with those 60s, 2 is 1 on forward lunges, and then squat press, 2 rounds. And then you'd reverse that out, and you'd go back to 50s, and then back to 2 rounds of 10 tricep press with 10 push-ups supersets. So that is Sorry for the Wait. It was so intense. Before I ask about 2023 to 2024, let's stay on 2024. Sure. What was going through your mind as you heard that workout? What was the chatter in the back room as Luke was breaking down the workout to you guys for the first time? And then how did you begin to strategize? Yeah. What was your strategy? And then talk me through just all the way through the emotions of winning.
Well, so all weekend, right? None of us knew what the workout was going to be. And we were all talking, you don't want to get ahead of yourself. If I make the final, this is what I'm going to do. But we were all going back and forth. What do you think it's going to be? What do you think it's going to be? I had an idea of what I thought it was, and I was completely wrong. But we were all trying to play off of the sorry for the wait. What does that mean? Obviously, it's going to be weighted exercises, but we're also having to wait for that final to come out. So we were all talking all weekend about what that could be. So once the finalists, all 16 got announced, we're all sitting down there. Luke comes down, and I turned to, I think it was Chuck that I was sitting next to, and I said, I think I'll be okay as long as there's no heavy leg workout. And then I look, and there's lunges and squat to press, and I'm like, oh my God. My legs were done. After the 5 workouts, I didn't know how much I had left in my quads, and I've also got a bad shoulder, so I was like, well, not only the legs, but I've got squat to press with 50s. I don't work out with 50s when I press, and so I was like, okay, if I think I'll be okay on the chest press or the tricep presses and the push-ups. I think I'm fine. Those legs are going to give me a run for money, and yeah, that was the hardest part of the workout for me was those squat to press. It was rough. It was rough. I'm not going to lie. So, but it was.
So what do you do when it's rough like that? Like, zoom me into that moment when you're like, I'm on my second round of forward lunges or squat press. What was like the hardest moment, and what's your mental strategy in those deep times when you're taking your body to the depths of where it can go?
It's just one rep at a time. I mean, and I tell our members this all the time. When you have a big set that you're trying to do, don't think about that big number you have to hit. Break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, right? So if it's a big set of 10, 1-2 reps at a time. That's the only way to get through it. And I remember thinking, okay, I got through my first round of lunges and squat to press. Second round of lunges were tougher, but they were manageable. And I get to that second round of squat to press, and I had a thought go through my mind. It's like, I'm not going to be able to do these. And I think I think I got to maybe 5, and I put the weights down, and I had to take a breath. And I picked them back up. I was like, okay, you've only got to do 5. Let's just go one at a time. And get through these. This is going to be the hardest part. Get through these no matter how long it takes. No regrets. Leave everything on the table. But if you've got to do one at a time, that's the way we're going to get through this.
Yeah, that's so it's so interesting because you're exactly right. When you preach to members like stay in the moment, stay present, it's like this active form of meditation. You almost have to do that, right? There's no other option. You can't really project into the future because it's like then you're going to give yourself a break, and you can't break, right? Like, did you feel like you couldn't take time off? Like, did you just say like next one I just keep going? Was there any time during that where you had to shake out real quick? And when you didn't have to, did you shake out at all when you didn't have to, or only when it's like, dude, I have to set these weights down?
I will say I broke. So the first set of double unders, I got the 50 in a row. The second set, I want to say about 30. I think I could have kept going, but I got to 30. It's like, I've got to catch my breath real quick because I know I've got to go right back into the buyout, and I don't want to go into that super winded. So I think I stopped at maybe 30 on my doubles. And then I got the next 20 in a row, but I think I stopped there on purpose. But yeah, it's going back to what you asked about strategy. I had a strategy for all 5 of the workouts. We had gone through them a number of times, and I'm going to go ahead and say, this year I hired somebody to help me. Mike Bookshow was my trainer, right? So Mike and I strategized a ton about how we want to approach these workouts, and we had when you go from regionals to finals, you only have about 5 weeks, right? And you've got 5 new workouts. So we had to kind of dissect those and figure out what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and we did that. And so we had that all 5 kind of planned out, and the 5 didn't really go to plan. It's I think it's Mike Tyson says everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Right. Yeah,
when you're in the moment, sometimes that plan doesn't always happen. But when you get to that final workout, we had 10 minutes maybe. There really wasn't a strategy. It was 100 miles an hour. Go as fast as you can, because I'm not looking at the other guys. I'm just trying to focus on Matt counting for me, calling out my reps, and just trying to pick a spot on the floor that I can just focus on and just go as hard as I can.
Yeah, you definitely had a big crowd back in Madison that was representing on the live stream. What did it mean to you to have all your members in watching you win the crown? Like, how did that feel? And obviously, your family has been watching you for 4 straight years in these games too, and they've been a big part of your support. What does all of that mean to you? I'm sure it's overwhelming in some sense.
Yeah, it means everything. So this was the first year out of the 4 years I've competed that my kids have actually been able to come. Because, it's in October, right? They've got school, they've got extracurricular activities, all of that. So it worked out perfectly this year that their fall break for school fell the week after athlete games. And so obviously Jamie's been there with me every step of the way. And the kids, this is the first time they got to see me. And so that was fantastic. but it also gave me a little pressure, a little more pressure that I put on myself. You know, I want them to see Daddy succeed. Maybe not win, but I want them to see me do the absolute best I can. So that was fantastic. And as far as our members go, I can't say enough good things about them. I mean, I've heard a number of trainers talk about the community that their gyms have, you know, burned nationwide. But I cannot say enough things about our Madison community. I mean, even this year in regionals, we went down to Ackworth in Georgia, which was the closest regional to us. And I think we had 15 people make that 6-hour drive with us. So, I mean, we just took a caravan. Yeah, and, you know, the support that they've given me, not only over the 4 years, but especially the last 2, it's continually checking on me. How are you doing? You know, training with me. We have one of our members, Jody Britt, who ran through all of the regional and finals workouts with me multiple times. And I'm sure he's never wanting to see a kettlebell again after we did Will to finish in the regionals, who knows how many times. But he was there with me every step of the way. Another one of our members, Amber Banesh, would come in an hour early to the camp she was attending so she could help me train. It's things like that the members going above and beyond when they don't have to, right? Continually praying for me and praying over me and just giving me that encouragement that they're right next to me and right behind me, you know, every step of the way. It means more than you can say.
Well, you clearly mean so much to the community, and the support is just evidence of that. And watching that final moment when you win with you and your family, Leighton Laney on the floor, just sharing that moment. What is that like?
I'm going to do my best not to like get emotional and talk about this, but I mean, they're everything, right? And to have them there and to share that moment with them, something I'll never forget. And something Jamie has said to me multiple times since the finals was, you know, live in this moment. Don't let this is something great that you did. Don't forget about it, right? Don't let it just kind of pass. Like, you know, kind of bask in this moment a little bit. You've earned this and enjoy it. And then sometimes I have a hard time with that because I'm not the one to be the center of attention, right? I don't want to put my hand up and say, everybody look at me. But I am proud of what we as a community have accomplished these last 4 years, especially this last 2. I couldn't have done it without all of that support. And I try to tell our members that it's not just about me. It's our gym. Our gym has done this.
What did Jamie or Laney or Leighton say to you specifically in that moment when you guys are right there? You know, take me into that like 15 seconds when it's like you guys are all with each other after the game, after they know you won the championship.
I think what Jamie said to me was, I think she said, it's really real. Like you did it. And so when I finished, Matt came and gave me a hug, but I didn't really know. I don't remember what Matt said to me. I really don't. But he gave me a hug, and I wasn't sure if he was giving me a hug because I finished. Or I finished first. I wasn't really sure. And so when I finally kind of sat up and I looked around, I was like, I'm the only one that's done. I think this means I won, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I know they've got to go to booth review and all of that and look at the reps. And so I was like, don't get ahead of yourself. You're fine. And then Jamie came out there and gave me a big hug, and I just lost it. I think all of that relief and tension that I've been holding, even kind of going back to last year, coming in, I guess, as the champion, no one put pressure on me to repeat or do well, but I think I did, right? I was like, well, I've got to represent our gym again. I don't want to show up again to finals and just lay an egg. I can't do that. And so that pressure was on me, but I internalized it. And so to have her just come and just wrap me in her arms and I think all that tension and fear just kind of just melted away at that point.
Yeah, it is definitely inspiring to see you come back and defend the title in 2023. Not only that, but to go 2021, 2022, take it in 2023, keep it in 2024. That they say that's the hardest thing to do in sports. Is that you can winning the title is easy, keeping the title is hard. And so as you're now, let's see, about 3 weeks post 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Post athlete games, have you made a decision for 2025?
Yeah, I have. I would love to be involved as a counter, but my competition days are done. going back to the time it takes to train and the amount of effort you have to put in, not only from a physical standpoint, but from a timing standpoint. I mean, I'm a trainer, but I also have another full-time job. But I also have a family and also have responsibilities, and trying to carve out that time. I think maybe Amber Bellows or somebody on one of their interviews talked about, no, it's Becky. I think Becky Borkin talked about, being very efficient with her training. It's tough to do that because you got to look at your week and you got, okay, I've got 45 minutes right here. I've got 30 minutes right here. And to try to make that as efficient as possible is tough. And I know I'm not the only one. I know there are hundreds of trainers nationwide that have to kind of fit that in when they can, because it's definitely a really important part of our life. But there's also things you have to take into consideration as well. But yeah, I'm done. My body's telling me I'm done. My wife's telling me I'm done. So this will be my last rodeo.
All right. Well, we have to. Now you're in the championship alum. You're gonna go. You're gonna retire on top, 2-time champion, and we really need your help to continue to get more of our 3,000 burn trainers out there to come together and to go to regionals and to keep the finals on their mind like you did. You're the type of person that you weren't gonna stop until you won and then won again, and it's just so inspiring. So, what advice would you have for those, 27 or 2,600, there's about 400 that competed this year. For the 2,600 that didn't compete, what would be your advice, and why was it worth it? Why was all the time, the energy, the effort, on top of everything, why was it all worth it?
Another thing I tell our members is never leave, especially during the finisher, never leave the gym wishing you had done one more rep, right? Regret is to me is the thing that eats at me every day. Like, I wish I had done something else. Or wish I hadn't done this. If you're a trainer, you've never done Athlete Games, take that leap. As you mentioned, I've done it 4 times. The first year I competed, our regionals was out in Prosper, Texas, and I just got destroyed. I was not prepared physically, mentally, emotionally, probably. I didn't fuel myself correctly. My training probably wasn't great, and I had a great time. I met some fantastic people. I met Mike for the first time. I met Mickey Clark for the first time. And I've continued those relationships. But for the workouts themselves, I was just annihilated. And my wife can tell you I could barely walk the next day. But it kind of lit that fire, that competitive, fire that you have. And so I came back again, and I did better. That year was when they established the Masters division, and I finished 3rd. Got to come to HQ for the first time. That was really cool. But more than anything, if you're a trainer looking to do this, you got that competitive fire that's burning. You don't know how to kind of extinguish it. Let it out. Let it go. Be involved in Athlete Games. Train hard. Eat right. Show your members that you can do hard things. You're asking them to do level up games. You do Athlete Games as well. But I will say this for trainers that have never done it before. There is nothing that will beat the camaraderie with all of the athletes. I mean, so I'm in Mississippi, right? I have friends now in New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Florida, Texas that I would never have met if it wasn't for Athlete Games. And we stay in touch throughout the year. I was messaging somebody this morning in Florida. You're never going to beat the camaraderie. And my absolute most favorite thing about Athlete Games is between heats, we're all sitting downstairs talking and say, oh, how'd you do? What'd you think about this? And what are you eating to refuel? And just sharing tips and stories and picking on each other and messing with each other. I can't even put that into words how cool that is to have all these people from across the nation come. And obviously, yeah, you're competing. You're going after one prize. But you wouldn't know that by being down there and listening to all of us talk. I mean, it's just like a bunch of friends hanging out that we see once a year.
Yeah, it's right? It was like definitely like a locker room atmosphere, right? Like where like you guys are on the same team, and that's what I noticed when I went down there. And I was talking last year, 2023, to Chuck Sulich, which might have been the person you're talking about in Florida. Yeah, who is your 2024 co-mail winner in the standard division?
Beast.
I'm going to interview him and the rest of the winners too here on the podcast in the coming weeks. And so it was such a how would I say, for me, such a satisfying, like positively reassuring atmosphere watching you guys all interact together like you were on this team. Like you guys were all in it together, pushing each other. You all wanted to win individually, right? You all wanted to be the best, and come out with that trophy and that check for sure. but it wasn't despite other
Right.
trainers. You weren't trying to break them down to build yourself down. And that's how it is in a lot of individualized competitions. And like you said, like the culture and the community, Chuck and I were talking about this last year. He was telling me how tight everybody is and how it's like the culture within the culture within the culture, right? So it's like Burn is a culture, and then our members have a culture, and the center of that are our trainers, and the center of that is our athletes. And so it means so much to the brand for you all to come here and to compete. And it gives a lot of admiration to you, I would assume, as well across Burn Nation. Just talk a little bit about that. You have 50,000 or so people watching on a live stream who are popping in and out to watch their favorite athlete. You've got 1,000 people in person. It was so loud in there. Like, it was so loud. And I'm sure you got the opportunity to hear it, DMs, emails, whatever, phone calls, texts from Burn Nation just cheering you on. What was that greater support like?
It's fantastic. I mean, we had a number of people that I know that couldn't make the trip this year. When we finally got back downstairs after the final was over, we did the award ceremony and all that. I'm kind of, just a little depressurized a little bit for a second before we left. And I took a look at my phone. I had like 150 something text messages. I mean, Instagram has all these messages on. I'm like, I'm going to get to these sometime. But it was just people just, saying congratulations, so proud of you. But even it's people that I've never met before that I know, I guess, through other people that I've competed against that were saying, hey, great job. You did fantastic. Way to represent your gym well. And I've never met these people before. Just things like that, you never know who's watching. I actually had a member from Gavin Binger's gym up in Wisconsin who messaged me and said, hey, I met you last year, real briefly, been following you, and just want to say congratulations. You made your gym proud. I was like, she didn't have to do that. I mean, just kind of go out of her way to kind of show that appreciation. It's you never know who's watching, right? And so, what we try to do, and we talk about this a lot at our gym amongst our trainers, is walk the walk. We tell our members to do a certain thing, but we need to show them that example. And whether it's, just in the way we carry ourselves and conduct ourselves in camp when we're taking camp, or even outside of camp. I always want to be the same person no matter where you see me, whether it's church on Sunday or the gym on a Saturday morning or at my other job Monday through Friday. I always want to be the same person to everybody. And so for somebody that I don't even know really to kind of message me and say, you did a good job representing your gym. That's what we want to see, and that's what we kind of preach to our members. We're telling you to do this, but we're trying to do the same thing. So I don't know. It feels like Burn Nation's kind of wrapping you in your arms a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that feels really good, and it's nice. It is nice to have the greater culture, but then also that real athlete culture, that real locker room culture behind the scenes. And so what I think I hear you saying, Champ, is that we got to have all of our members say, hey, if you're going to ask me to do level up games, then you better go register and compete in regionals for a chance to come to Charlotte for finals. I think that's what you're saying pretty much, right? Is that the message to the members?
We'll go with that. Yeah, we'll go with that. It's for all those trainers, it's nothing like you've ever done before. I mean, and I know a ton of trainers have an athletic background, played college sports. I know some professional athletes as well that are now trainers. It's just different because you don't have that. It's competitive, obviously, but it's not that cutthroat mentality. If I want to win, you've got to lose. It's not that. It's I want to win, but more than that, I want to do my best. But I'm going to see you do your best as well. So
you had some help. You had Mike Buchko was your trainer.
Yep.
He's putting together. I heard Jamie also is a nutritionist, and she was helping you with your nutrition the whole time. So you had this real strategic prep for your finals. Let's talk about that.
Well, look, so when you get old, you got to figure out every shortcut you can to make it get a little easier. So I talked to Mike, and I've known Mike for 4 years, but I reached out to him before regionals and said, because I'm the type of person, I can tell you what to do, right? But when I'm trying to program something for myself, I get a little lost in I can't see the forest for the trees sometimes. And so I reached out to Mike and was like, all right, these are my goals. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. Can we work on that? And he said, absolutely. So, I mean, Mike wrote a protocol for me. We checked in multiple times a week. I would film every workout. I would send it to him. I would make notes, and he would give me notes back. He bumped my calories up because nutrition is a big component. When you're training more now than you typically do, obviously you've got to fuel your body to be able to do that. So we bumped my nutrition up. Jamie came along and kind of helped tweak my macros a little bit as well, because that's what she does. She's a macro coach. And so having her obviously in the house with me was definitely a plus. But, you know, this was the first year I had, we'll call it a team, maybe. And I've always done it on my own, and that's tough. We had other trainers that would kind of help me along the way, the trainers at our gym that would do some of the workouts with me. But other than that, it was just me saying, okay, I think I need to do this workout today, or I think I need to do this workout. This is what I'm struggling with a little bit. But having Mike as a, you know, like an unbiased third party to take a look and say no. And there was a couple of times during, especially for regionals, and to remind everybody, the 3 regional workouts were not the sack, press for time, and will to finish. The first 2 I felt really good about, but will to finish, that was my nemesis. And we definitely had a come to Jesus meeting once or twice between Mike and myself, and even Jamie and myself, because I had a mental block on that one. And so having somebody like Mike to push me and say, okay, this is the way we've been training. Let's deconstruct that. Let's turn, instead of running through the workout, let's turn it into an EMOM, or let's turn it into something else. And to say, okay, I need you to hit your RPE at this level, at this point. You know, tell me how you're feeling. To have somebody come in third party to look at that made all the difference in the world for me.
Yeah, no, that is a cool thing to see happening, and I think that this will happen more because people will listen to this interview. They'll obviously they know you interpersonally because you're well known throughout Burn Nation, and they'll learn about your regimen and what you did to prep, because hey, success leaves clues. If you want to win, here's the blueprint, right, to do it. What other without giving, you know, I wouldn't expect you maybe to give your whole training regimen away. That might be for you know, the UFC, the fight camp, they never tell you all the details about the fight camp, but they give enough to be helpful. Yeah. So is there anything else that you'd like to pass along to the aspiring burn athlete champions out there?
Yeah, I will say this.
Preparation standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously nutrition is more important probably than anything else. If you're not fueling your body correctly, you're not going to have the energy to push through, right? But one thing we did that Mike programmed for me was we had a specific day once a week to work on mobility and flexibility. And that was something I had never really done. I mean, I stretch here and there when I'm feeling tight, but we had a specific day that was nothing but mobility, flexibility. And I also did flexibility moves throughout the week, but one specific day for that, for moves I've never done before. So that really helped me with not only my hips, but my wrist, my ankles, everything else, making sure that I can move in a full range of motion throughout all the moves that I was expecting to do, and to be able to do that quickly. So that was one of the things that was new for me. And honestly, I feel better now doing all of that. And without that, I don't know if I would have been able to have that confidence, especially going into that last workout. But obviously it helped having Mike was in finals with me. He made the trip from Texas, and having him there to give me constructive feedback, but also to remind me of certain things, but also to help me stretch out in between heats as well, definitely helped. So that was one thing that was new for me.
Yeah, that's go into macros a little bit, and when you do have, so you had one mobility day, you'd have your the games that you know you were going to compete in. How would you approach those, and as opposed to like a normal everyday workout? And did you kind of trade? Like, give me the lay of the land. If you took like those 5 weeks, go kind of Monday through Sunday, what's your routine look like?
So typically Sunday was an off day, which I needed that recovery. We typically did 2 off days leading up to regionals, because it's such a long time. You know, regionals workouts come out and you have 4 months, right, for 3 workouts. And you get to the point where you just hate those workouts because you're doing them so many times. But then finals comes, and you have about 5 weeks with 5 new workouts. So the programming changed a little bit. We did shorter, more intense workouts. And for me, it helped because instead of doing a 45-minute or a 2-hour long session, I was not going to be in any of the workouts. I was not going to be lasting longer than 8 or 10 minutes, give or take. And so we made them intense. We would use heavier weights or lighter weights, but more reps. But we would really intensify those workouts, but decrease that time from a 45-minute workout to maybe a 15-minute workout. And so we did that typically, and we would do maybe one specific one of the finals workouts a day and tweak it and kind of, massage those reps and those weights depending on what we needed or how I felt or what I felt I was either really good at or I needed some help on. And then we did that Monday through Friday because we had the 5 workouts. Saturday was kind of a catch-all. We had some different programming depending on how I felt. If I needed, I guess you could call it a skill day. So there were certain things that I needed to work on. Something that I had never done before was toes to bar. And so really getting that rhythm and that motion on the toes to bar was something I had to work on a lot. The first couple of times I did that, I tore up my hands because I wasn't used to that hip mobility, which is one thing we worked on too. But having that skill day really helped, and then we would rest on Sunday. So that's kind of the progression from regionals into finals.
Okay, yeah, no, that's very interesting to have a skill day because you have to come in to finals and be well-rounded. Yeah. That's the way that we design the protocol is well-rounded. You've got to be able to be strong and sustain strength. You've got to be able to double. You've got to be able to be strong in your core in every, a well-rounded kind of skill. So it's called athlete games. So that's the way we program it, right? Yeah. It's ultimate athlete, like being able to do everything really well. So that's cool. So how did the toes to bar go? That was right before 100 straight kettlebell swings. Yeah, talk me through that one. You seem to have a interesting relationship with that workout.
Well, that was the one that I don't mind saying this. I only beat the time cap one time before finals, and it was the last time I did it before finals. So the chin ups they're okay, but transitioning from that to the toes to bar, obviously toes to bar were kind of a working process. I had to kind of learn the rhythm on that, and we have a couple of members at our gym with a CrossFit background. They're like, "Oh, yeah, you just jump up there and you do this." I'm like, "Okay, sure, I'll just do that." But it was really working on that, and then when I got to finals, there were 3 sets of 10. First 2 sets of 10 I got in a row, and then the third set, I think on maybe the 8th rep, I couldn't get my toes all the way up to the bar, and so I had to drop back down and then jump up and do my last 2. So I'll take that. From where I started, when the first time I did those toes to bar after regionals to finals, I was pleased with how that went. But man, those kettlebell swings. We had kettlebell swings last year in regionals, the 100. And the difference was, like I said, regionals, you've got like 4 months. So you've got a ton of time to work on your forearm strength, your wrist strength. Obviously, kettlebell swings, there's a lot of hip and glute work as well, but you've got time to build that up. Well, now you've got 5 weeks. And so you just say a prayer and you hold on that kettlebell as tight as you can, and you try to get as many reps as you can and try to limit the amount of times you're going to put that kettlebell down. And unfortunately, I didn't do as well on kettlebell swings as I did in training. I still beat the time cap, so I'm good with that. But I was pleased with my toes to bar, but kettlebell swings, they didn't let me down, but I didn't do quite as well as I was hoping.
Yeah, that's interesting. Listening to your strategy and your preparation, the training regimen going in, and then and then having those workouts back to back in 2 days like that. And it's at the highest level of intensity possible, right? Not only internally because you're actually in the competition and you're trying to win, but externally too, you're just every single heat, it was so loud and just like people were cheering and it was just a crazy atmosphere. What was the difference between what you thought those 2 days were going to look like versus what they actually were like when you got there?
It's all adrenaline, right? Every time I compete, the first workout's the hardest because you've got to calm your nerves, right? You're hyped up, the music's going, you've got all these people watching, people at home are watching that can't make it. And so trying to kind of center yourself and, okay, I'm prepared. I've trained for this. Let me just block everything out and knock out this first workout. That, to me, that's always the hardest. Once I get through that first workout, I feel a little easier, a little calmer, right? And I don't know if it was a pro or con. That, to me, the first workout of finals was the worst one. So maybe it's good because you get it out of the way. But knowing that you've got to come right off the bat and do the hardest one is a little tough. But I think it all goes back to, how do you manage stress and how do you manage that adrenaline spike that you're getting? Because especially for finals, you spike up, and then we had a big lull between those workouts, almost 2 hours in some instances. So you're gonna crash back down, and then guess what? By the time you're ready, you've got to warm back up to get ready for that next one, and that adrenaline's gonna spike again. So I think controlling that is a big component. And look, don't get me wrong, it helped that this was my fourth year and my third year in finals, but you still are really not prepared until you get there. I mean, a lot of times it was me working out by myself or maybe with one other member, doing the finals workouts in our gym. It's not the same at all as being in Lake Norman. It doesn't even hold a candle to it. So it's you just got to prepare yourself that it's going to be different when you get there.
Well, kudos to you and the rest of the champions this year, because I know that what was the member you said that would come like an hour before camp to train with you? What was her name again?
So that was, two, Jody Britt ran through the workouts with me, and then Amber Banesh was a friend of ours who would come.
Okay.
Yeah. So look, all credit goes to them. They didn't have to do that.
Right. And like, that's what makes champions, right? You did that work behind the scenes. You had a focused approach, a regiment. You were anticipating yourself to be successful. You were not playing to lose. You were playing to win, right? There's a different mentality when you go in and expecting to win rather than just trying to like play it easy and not lose. And, I just think it's such an inspiring story, right? To have, you brought your family into it. You hired a coach. There's humility in hiring a coach, and you were able to pull off what's the hardest thing to do in sports as a back-to-back title. So you're gonna go out on top. We won't see Will Shurtleff next year unless he changes his mind, which I won't completely close you off to that. All right, I'm not gonna say no, never say never. But as of today, I hear what you're saying, and you're gonna move forward, and hopefully we can have you still be a big part of this, champ.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's something I'll never forget. And like I said, if you've never done it before, do it. Just push yourself, get out of that comfort zone. We talk about that a lot with members, right? Get yourself out of your comfort zone. Try something that maybe scares you just a little bit, and see what you're made of. See what you can push yourself to do. You'll never know what'll happen if you don't take that first step. But then I keep talking about the relationships that you make. I mean, you can't beat that. You can't put a price on that. The people that I know now that I wouldn't know if it wasn't for Athlete Games.
Well, we are definitely a better company, Will, for having you on the mic in Madison and being such an amazing representative, you and your family.
Thank you.
Both your family and the greater Madison family of Burn Boot Camp, and just representing all the values that we stand for, first and foremost, as a human being, but also stepping up and choosing greatness. You did that, and we appreciate your 4 years of competition. We look forward to having you continue to be engaged in the games. And for all of you members and trainers out there, like Will just said it, like, go show yourself what you're made of. Sign up for the Level Up Games at your gym if you're a member. Sign up for Athlete Games Regionals if you're a trainer. That's what it's all about. We get this one opportunity to be in this physical body, and let's not take that for granted, right? Let's show ourselves what we're made of. Let's show our bodies how capable we really are. It might take you a week to recover, maybe a little bit more if you're getting into the Masters division. But Will, you're such an amazing, you're a hero of the brand, and we appreciate you very much for everything. Any parting words for the audience before we get out here, like we always do?
I would say one thing. I've got to give kudos to our training team, and I'm going to call them real quick. So Shelly, Vicky, Reagan, Deez, Heather, Karen. I couldn't do this without y'all. So just the support that y'all have given me, and the support that you continually show our members. We're lucky to have all y'all on the training team. So thank y'all very much. And I appreciate the opportunity to come on here, and I would love to cheer each and every one of you on next year at Athlete Games.
All right, well, hey, champ, we appreciate you. I'll have the other 3 Burn Athlete champs on, Chuck Schulich, Liza Harris, and Amber Bellows, and we will be interviewing them as well. We appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the floating floor.
Sounds good. Thank y'all very much.
All right, everybody, 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.